Corey Scott looking at those outbreaker routes. Instead goes to his running back, complete and into the end zone. Game over. Colburn, the walk-off. I kind of like that overtime.
I do too. I really do. I really do. What is up, my friends, and welcome to the 6th edition of the USFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of USFL News Hub. And on this week's show, you just saw video of them actually playing game. That's right, they had a scrimmage this past week, and they were testing out rules. That was the overtime rule. Hey, Philadelphia Stars is the team, I think, is the team to beat, in my opinion. So on this week's show, we are Saturday. Games are Saturday, my friends. The USFL kicks off the season. Week 1 is here. We have our week 1 picks, plus we talk about some new tech that they were kind of testing this past weekend, and so much more. So how do you get in touch with the show? It's simple. Very, very simple. You email podcast@USFL News Hub with your thoughts or recorded MP3 or video on your phone, and we will play it on next week's show. Leave us a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 3. Also, be kind to your friends at hardworking News Hub publishing guru team that we got. Stitcher, Audible, Player FM, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and of course, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Help spread the word about the show. My wife is like, I can't hang out with Mark until late night, so she goes over to a friend's house. I hope it's a good friend, not another boyfriend, because I'm not around. But it's not. I know where she's at. It's all good. Watch. That's because this is what I do for you guys, is to put out a show specifically to these football leagues. So watch USFL Week in Review at 9 p.m. Eastern every Monday following our XFL News Hub show on YouTube, Twitter, and the Facebooks as well. Welcome to the show. So we got picks, we've got some news coming up, and we've got your social media stuff. So if you like football, I want you to like and subscribe to this channel. Let's get this show to 20 likes. There is still, to me, the league is lacking the excitement that the XFL had and even the AAF had. And I think it's because they're not in hometowns, which I'm sure the XFL is also watching too, seeing what's the vibe out there. But I think as much as I'm like, where's the hype? It's really when the games are on television is really going to be when people start to pay attention. So that like 6:30, 7:30, building up to the games and then being on both channels. We'll see what the hype is this week. I haven't really seen much other than stuff from Fox affiliates and Fox affiliated websites and broadcast partners and stuff. Not really from anywhere else, and some NBC stuff as well. So we'll see if we get any more hype going into the USFL season. So we'll talk about the USFL news. We'll talk about your picks. DraftKings, I haven't seen anything on DraftKings about USFL. There's a CFL tab, a CFL link in their menu that's grayed out, but there is no USFL. And broskies, this is the time people are putting in bets. Speaking of putting in whatever, USF News Hub Fantasy had their round. We had rounds of drafts. Did pretty well. Didn't really see too many issues. Had one message. Made some bunch of adjustments today. We're trying to work on making sure getting all the data in and collecting, but things are looking pretty good with USFL. Our News Hub Fantasy. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's so wide open. We have no, we don't even know what the depth charts are for the rosters right now. So who are you going to pick to start? We'll just kind of have to find out as the week goes on, and we'll keep our, but you can do waiver pickups. You can do trades. You can create leagues, whether it's head-to-head leagues with the schedule or it's just a points league. You can create those. You can have an offline draft where you can actually export your draft to a spreadsheet and then send it to us. We'll upload your draft so you go hang out with your friends, do it. It's even got an automated draft. Don't even worry about picking up a draft date where you just do the automated selection. Once the league gets to 9 players, then it will do the draft for you. And if you just want to kind of get in, or you could join a league, there's plenty of leagues open. We set it to 8. Definitely when the CFL, I am not going to change that right this second, because we are just a week away, less than a week away from the XFL or USFL season to start. But definitely when the CFL season kicks in, we will give you the option whether to do 6 or 8 league teams sizes. We'll have to adjust the code for that, but I understand that more. I just went with 8 because there was 8 teams, but definitely we'll have that in the future amongst other stuff as well. So, and then of course, when the XFL happens, we'll have that stuff there too. All right, my friends. So without further ado, let's just get into the week that was the USFL. So the USFL showed off its helmet cam first down markers during its final scrimmages. So we are 7 days from kickoff of the XFL or the USFL season. The Birmingham Stallions will take on the New Jersey Generals on Fox and NBC at 7:30 on April 16th. On Friday, the league had its first set of scrimmages. These games were designed to test the TV production, in-game innovations, and let the new officials get in some practice. After the game, the league shared some of those innovations we will see on game day. The first football player to wear a helmet cam. So here's some of the innovations. Helmet cam. The first football player to wear a helmet cam was Kerwin Bell, quarterback of the Orlando Thunder, on March 25th, 1991. He wore it first for the World League of American Football. The innovation was never really used in the NFL. Now the USFL will give it a try. 2 players from each team will be wearing a helmet cam during the games. Quote, see the game like never before starting next Saturday on Fox. And well, this Saturday, 2 players from each team will be wearing helmet cams for every game. I don't know about this helmet cam, friends. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Listen to me. Play clock's running down the whole time, and you're still over there yapping. We need to have a huddle.
So what do you think of the helmet cam? It's a little shaky, but that was cool. The interaction between the coach and player after the play, that kind of stuff I think is good, but the catches and moving around, I mean, just things are moving so fast. I'm not sure how usable it is, but definitely I think that adds another element, interesting element to the XFL's broadcast, or USFL's broadcast, I should say. First down markers. This is the one that got a lot of run on a lot of mainstream press. The league has showed off its new first down marker system, something head of officiating Mike Pereira talked about a few months ago. First down measurements that are more accurate than ever. Take a look at the first down technology that will be featured this season in the USFL.
USFL digital technology to see if this was a first down.
Check opposite.
Here we go.
Bro,
Short. It's like hanging out at Wimbledon.
I can see from here he's short.
How cool is that, though? That is really cool.
Hey, let's
That seems long overdue, doesn't it?
It
The fact
does,
that
it really does.
it's like we still walk all those chains out there just for the fun of it.
Totally agree with the commentators that this technology is long overdue. I was reading something today about how Chipotle is, because they can't find staff, they're using a robot to make their chips. And if it tastes good, I don't care if a human does it or a robot makes it. I'm fine with that. It seems so archaic now that you see it in action, where you're like, why do we have these guys slow the game down, bring out the chains, the guys with the beer guts coming out there, measuring the thing? We have technology out the wazoo. Just use tech to figure it out. I've always said for Major League Baseball needs to ditch the umpire and have an AI or technology call the balls and strikes. You see it on television. Just let the system call it, because there's no consistency, and people that are like, oh, well, it's just part of the, shut up. Like, go back to your VCRs. This is the kind of stuff that football needs, and the USFL is bringing out this exciting technology. It's very cool. Can't wait to see it starting on Saturday. Do you believe we have football? We're going to be talking about football, games, and players on Saturday. Also, all access at halftime. The league will also give fans a behind-the-scenes look at halftime. They said, quote, when we say all access, we mean it. Step into the locker room during halftime for a peek behind the curtains starting Saturday on Fox and NBC. They were showing some pictures, how they did the all access kind of thing. That was very cool. So next Saturday will be a big day. This Saturday, players have been practicing hard. The world will now view all the prep on Saturday, April 16th and 17th as the USFL finally takes the field since the 80s, but it's the new inaugural USFL, not that USFL. You get my drift. Glad to see spring football back. Somebody's on the field. Our own Matt Lyons has his USFL preseason power rankings. Let me see what you think. Let us know in the comments. The USFL season is approaching quickly with training camps in full swing. Some notable transactions. The inaugural game set to kick off in less than a week. It's a good time to do one last power ranking before things get rolling. While there hasn't been a drastic change in rankings since the last supplemental draft, a few notable ad drops have shifted things slightly. Previously ranking here. So first, the Tampa Bay Bandits. My Tampa Bay Bandits. Previous rank was 1. They are ranked number 1. They're on top. Despite losing their most experienced receiver in Eli Rogers and a few others, he didn't show up. With Rogers gone, the Bandits are still high-powered offense with plenty of weapons on the quarterback, Jordan Ta'amu. Additionally, the team brought in the NFL and CFL wide receiver Rashard Davis to help fill Rogers' place. He was the former number 1 overall pick in the XFL draft, but then he wound up playing for the Eagles. So he's back, spent time with the Eagles, Raiders, Chiefs, Titans. And I think, or is it the Titans? He also spent time with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Active roster of CFL, was drafted by the DC Defenders, although he did not officially sign with the team. Other players added to Tampa Bay are Zach Daw, Jalen Booth. Daw is a defensive end who played 3 seasons at BYU, totaling 81 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and 13.5 tackles for a loss in his time. And then the other addition to the Bandits is offensive tackle Jalen Booth, who should do an extra job bolstering the offensive line at 6'4" and 375. Pittsburgh Maulers at number 2, really. The Maulers are still sitting at number 2 spot ahead of week 1, despite losing one of their running backs, Devon Smith, who was expected to take a large portion of the carries of the run-heavy team. However, they've replaced Smith with another back who's more than capable, Mondre London. This is a guy you have to look out for in this league. Super excited to see him. He's an experienced running back out of the University of Tennessee, who most recently absolutely destroyed the European League of Football, ELF. Inaugural season, he'd win the MVP award, was named the ELF All-Star, and was named to American Football International's 2020-21 All-Europe first team as the top running back in Europe. In 10 games with the Cologne Centurions, London took 303 rushing attempts for 2,177 yards, 23 touchdowns, averaging 207 yards per game. His longest run of the season came at 86 yards, scoring play. London also had stints in the Spring League, fan control football, before getting involved with ELF. Other players, I'm super excited about seeing him. Other players signed by the Maulers, 6'5", 310 offensive tackle Justin Evans and former Carolina Panthers fullback Mickey Daniel. So it's quite clear the Maulers will be running the ball. Don't care who knows. The way Kirby Wilson's built the team, it's sure like they'll be able to do it. Super excited about checking out this team. Devon Smith was not happy about being released, by the way. Just pointing at that out. He did that. Nolans Breakers, number 3. Breakers stay at number spot after adding a few nice pieces to their defensive backfield and bolstering the offensive line. The most significant loss for the Breakers may be cornerback Dietrich Jones, who was drafted by the team without informing the USFL of his contract with the CFL Stampeders. Jones denied he'd committed to the Stamps, and the Breakers released him on April 1st, 2022. He was on the Markcast talking about all that stuff. Jones' replacement will be cornerback Neville Clark, who played college ball at Central Florida and played in the 2020 East-West Shrine Bowl. Clark's also spent time with the Vikings, but injured his foot in training camp and was later released. Most recently spent time with the Spring League's Generals. Another new face will join Clark in the backfield. Former XFL Los Angeles cornerback Mike Stevens, while Jones will likely be more heavily relied on. Stevens should not be overlooked as a quality slot corner. Breakers also added Kai Abrish, 6'4", 335-pound offensive tackle out of Florida International. Abashir also allowed only one sack during his senior season. It would be a nice addition to Nolan's already good offensive line. Now, this is the team that I thought was going to be the big one. Philadelphia Stars, number 4, staying at 4, remained intact despite losing safety Jack Taco, who is expected to be an impact player for Philly. His replacement is safely Evan Worthington out of Colorado, spent time in NFL training camps. Worthington was a little bit taller and versatile safety who can play in the slot. He ended his college career with 167 tackles, 15 pass deflections, and 4 interceptions in 36 games. Most recently spent time with the league's Generals, the Spring League's Generals for their 2021 season. Philly also added quality tight end mix in former TCU standout Pro Wells. Wells played 3 seasons at TCU with 32 catches for 403 yards and 9 touchdowns in 26 games, 6 starts. Initially, it was reported tight end Bug Howard did not report to camp, but a later report confirmed Howard did arrive in Birmingham with the team. In addition to Wells, the Stars appear to have signed the best tight end room on paper. So they got Pro Wells, Worthington. Number 5, the New Jersey Generals, previously ranked 7. The Generals are the first team on the list to actually have moved since the last time, taking the number 5 spot after a few very nice additions. The big loss, of course, was Ben Holmes. We talked about him last week, who was released a few days ago after breaking his toe in practice. That part I don't get. It's not currently clear if Holmes will return to USFL once he's healed in roughly 5 to 6 weeks. However, Holmes' replacement was more than qualified because it could be even better. He was replaced by Luis Perez, who spent time in the Rams, Eagles, Lions, as well as AAF's Birmingham Iron and LA Wildcats and New York Guardians, and the Spring Leagues. Most recently, Perez led the Spring League's Jousters in 2021, where his team made it to the league's championship game. Unfortunately, they lost to the TSL linemen. Cam Eccles-Looper is another quality addition to the Generals, a versatile wide receiver who gained experience playing a handful of different positions, including quarterback and running back at times. With rules like the double forward pass at small roster size, a Swiss Army knife, such as Cam Eccles-Looper could quickly become an asset for Mike Riley's offense. Another additions include tight end Woody Brandon, defensive end Deion Sizer. Sizer is a defensive end out of Colorado State, spent 3 seasons bouncing off the Broncos practice squad. Sizer's only appeared in 1 game for the Broncos, recorded 1 assisted tackle. And in his college career with 139 total tackles and 10 sacks at 41 games. Birmingham Stallions. So this means that New Jersey Generals should beat the Stallions. I don't know about that. I don't know. Stallions at 6. They previously were at 5. They dropped a spot. They were bumped down because of the nice move by the Generals. The only roster moves occurred for the Stallions. The team released Haston Adams and adding replacement Jordan Thompson. Thompson, 6'3", 292-pound defensive tackle out of Northwestern. Time with the 49ers and XFL Seattle Dragons. While in college, started 35 consecutive games until they missed the Holiday Bowl with an injury. In that time, Thompson made himself known as a key part of TCU's run defense, ending his college career with 91 total tackles, 13 tackles for a loss, 5.5 sacks in 50 games. While he didn't earn any playing time with the Niners, Thompson did play in all 5, starting 4 of the XFL games in 2020, recorded 14 tackles and 1 sack. Michigan Panthers. You think Jeff Fisher, big name here, some big guy time quarterbacks. They bumped down a spot in the rankings after minimal roster movement, along with some nice additions by the Generals, moved them off the board. The largest additions of the Panthers appear to be defensive tackle Walter Palmore out of Missouri. Gained experience with the Texans, Cowboys, Seahawks, Panthers, Roughnecks of the XFL. I think he had some time on the practice squad this past year. And 2 seasons at Missouri, Palmore played 22 games, 13 starts, 44 tackles, 1 sack. Additionally, Palmore's only appearance in 1 FL game and 1 XFL game, but underperformed in those opportunities. Another addition to the Panthers is offensive guard Cordell Wagatu out of TCU replaced Marquel Harrell after he didn't report. He spent time on NFL practice squads, including the Texans in 2020 and Cleveland Browns in 2021. And finally, last place, the bottom of the barrel, which I probably agree with this one, Houston Gamblers. They remain the bottom as they did. They haven't made any moves, and most of the question marks around their head coach, quarterback, and supporting cast. It surprised me, Matt Lyons, the Gamblers didn't make any ads. Considering they have what seems to be one of the weaker teams on paper, I guess Kevin Sumlin's feeling confident with what he has. So we'll see how it works out for him. Though some people are not too keen on Kevin Sumlin. So maybe that's why they're bottom at 8. So what do you think of the rankings as we go into the season? My Tampa Bay Bandits, excited. They're number 1. Number 2, Pittsburgh Maulers, surprised but not surprised. Nolans Breakers at 3. Philadelphia Stars at 4, Jersey Generals at 7, Birmingham Stallions at 6, Michigan Panthers at 7, and Houston Gamblers picking up the rear at number 8. Let us know what you think in the comments. What's your preseason rankings? Our man Mike Mitchell has the 25 USFL players to watch for heading into the season. 2020 season is upon us. Spring pro football is back. The USFL will allow players to showcase their skills and shine, just like recent spring football leagues that have come before. The USFL will not only create an avenue for players to extend their pro careers, it can also serve as a launching point towards the NFL. That's what all these guys want to do. Case in point, over a dozen former AAF players currently on NFL teams. Most notably players like Falcons All-Pro kicker Young-Ho Koo and Cleveland Browns running back Dearness Johnson, who had a monster game this past year. They both have stood out and become mainstays of the NFL 3 years after the AA Alliance last played in 2019. Koo and Johnson and many others like them prove that they belong on the highest level, and they have lasting power 3 years later. Furthermore, there are 150 former XFL players on NFL, CFL, and USFL rosters. 27 of them are currently on NFL. That's an impressive number, considering it's been 2 years since the XFL played 5 weeks of games in their shortened regular season. The value of the USFL clearly giving players a chance to shine on national television. The USFL will give NFL teams and their football departments a chance to get a good full scouting report on players who either just missed the cut or were overlooked. Playing time on national television on Fox and NBC and other outlets for 3 months plus will provide invaluable game film for these players and NFL scouts. And the USFL will serve as an excellent bio-visual intel for NFL teams. As a result, I do not doubt that there will be players who get a second or third chance in the NFL because of the extended playing time received in USFL. But there will also be players who are virtual unknowns to the mainstream football crowd that will emerge as superstars and take their steps into the NFL. We will see USFL players on NFL rosters when the 2020 season ends. Unfortunately, the USFL hasn't set up a traditional year-round fantasy football league, and many outlets like News Hub Fantasy have independently made that for fans. You can say that. We'll have that all on there. So here are 25 players to watch this season in the USFL. All right, you ready? Number 1, quarterback. Got Jordan Tamu, Tampa Bay Bandits. We know all about him. Kyle Slaughter, New Orleans Breakers quarterback. Brian Scott, another big guy to watch for the Philadelphia Stars. Super excited to watch him. Give him a chance to shine. Darnell Holland of the Philadelphia Stars, fitting a TSL, another TSL guy in the same team with Brian Scott. Multi-purpose back there. Mike Weber, New Jersey Generals running back. Generals have one of the deepest backfields with Mike Weber and veteran tailback Trey Williams and bruising runner Darius Victor on their staff. CJ Marble, the Birmingham Stallions, drafted former Oregon Tony Brooks James ahead of Marble in the USFL job. Marble might be the most versatile to be difference maker as a runner and pass receiver in the Stallions backfield. BJ Edmonds, Tampa Bay Bandits, there you go, my team. Emmons, the 24-year-old power back, has a unique playing journey in college and pros. 6', 200 bruising tailback, was a 4-star recruit landing with the Crimson Tide of Alabama before season-ending foot injury sidetracked his career. Transferred to Hudson Community College, then sat out for a year before playing for Florida Atlantic. Emmons couldn't catch a break. He broke his ankle in the first game with the Owls before returning to Conference USA Championship and scoring 2 touchdowns. Despite this, lost his spot in the rotation because of durability concerns, but now he's got a chance. See what he does in the USFL. Madre London, Pittsburgh Maulers. This is the guy. They picked him up later. We've talked about him. Destroyed the ELF, European League of Football. Just destroyed, rushing for 200 yards a game. Cannot wait to see him in the Pittsburgh Maulers. I'm all about Madre. Wide receivers, Jeff Badette, Michigan Panthers, played in the XFL. Had some stints in NFL camps. He's a speedster out there. Tawan Taylor, New Orleans Breakers, arguably the most accomplished veteran receiver in the USFL, a former 2017 third-round pick of the Tennessee Titans out of Western Kentucky. Jamon Moore, New Jersey Generals. TCU's Cavante Turpin is getting a lot of attention based on his dynamic skill set as a returner and receiver, but Turpin's Generals teammates Jamon Moore might be more polished receiver of the two. We'll have to find out on game day. Derek Dillon, Tampa Bay Bandits. People love sleepers. Here's one. Former LSU speedster Derek Dillon, the player who ran a 4.29 at his school's pro day, has never fully realized his potential in college or since. Giants saw a lot in Dillon potential last year when they gave him a $15,000 signing bonus and guaranteed salary of $250,000 for the 2020 season. Surprising gesture for someone who caught only 51 passes for 634 yards and 4 touchdowns through his career. Maybe giving him a shot there. Tight end Daquan Hampton, Tampa Bay Bandits. Because the league doesn't like, unfortunately, because a league like the CFL doesn't incorporate traditional tight ends and their wide open offenses, alternative options for players who play the position are not available outside the NFL. The arrival of the USFL gives pro and college free agent tight ends an avenue to showcase their skill. Several quality tight ends the USFL could make the list. Players like Houston's Brandon Barnes, New Jersey's Nick Truesdale, Philly's Bug Howard, Birmingham's Sage Surratt, Breakers' first overall pick in the supplemental draft, Mississippi State's Justin Johnson, all come to mind as well. Offensive linemen he's got in there, Terry Poole, New Jersey Generals, Calvin Ashley on the Generals as well. Defensive lineman Sharif Miller, Nolans Breakers, the first overall edge player taken in the USFL draft by Nolans. Did I say that right? Kevon Walker, defensive end, Michigan Panthers, big guy, 6'2", 280. Also played interior, former University of Maryland standout. Is no stranger to spring football, played with the Gaudians. He was good there. Jonathan Newsom, Birmingham Stallions, one of the more unique players in USFL this season. He's a former Indianapolis Colts 5th-round pick. Dalen Mack, Tampa Bay Bandits, 25 years old, 2019 5th-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens. Could be the best run-stopping defensive tackle in the USFL. Linebackers, Chris Orr, New Jersey Generals. Not your typical inside linebacker. Spent some time with the Panthers, but the former team captain at Wisconsin. DeMarcus Gates, Birmingham Stallions. Gates' fellow teammate Scooby Wright is getting a lot of attention because of impressive collegiate career and how well he performed in the AAF and XFL. But pound for pound, DeMarcus Gates may very well be the best all-around linebacker. Loved him in the XFL. He was made in the XFL for the Houston Roughnecks. Gates was named to the all-XFL team by our own Mike Mitchell. He played really well in the XFL. Excited to see him and Scooby right back. Jamar Summers, Gamblers, also played well in the XFL. Remember his days there. Let's see. Devontae Busby, New Jersey Generals. We're talking about one of the safe bets. This is a short list of players can end up back up on NFL rosters this fall. 6'2" man coverage corner, just spent the last 3 seasons in NFL after starring in the AAF for the San Antonio Commanders. Obi Melifuanu, Tampa Bay Bandits, veteran DB. Versatile, 6'4", 224, 4.4 speed. He could be a big athletic guy. former second-round pick out of UConn. Kicker Austin McGinnis, New Orleans Breakers. He kicked in the XFL too. And that's it. There's Mike Mitchell's list of players. Let us know in the comments if we're missing other players. Super excited to see these guys finally hit the field and show what they can do in the USFL. The USFL unveils its team mascots, names coming soon. This actually happened today. The USFL is just days away from its kickoff of the 2022 season, and today, the United States Football League introduced team mascots. Each team revealed its team mascot via social media videos. The catch here is that they don't have any names yet. The league are asking fans to name them. I think maybe they have their name. I don't know. So here are some of the mascots. First up, full steam ahead. The mascots here, the Birmingham Stallions. Next up, we have the Houston Gamblers. I'm not going to play the music because there could be copyrighted stuff. Then we have the Michigan Panthers guy. Looking cool. New Jersey Generals, kind of like this guy. If you're listening to the podcast, you'll have to head over to USFL News Hub to check out all these guys. The New Orleans Breakers, which I think have the coolest logo, could possibly have the coolest mascot. Looks very cool. Very cool looking mascot. I like him a lot. Philadelphia Stars. Did somebody just throw in the towel? I don't know what this thing is. This looks like a kind of space alien or something, but is it a Philadelphia ugly mascot thing? I don't understand, but yeah, this is not a very good looking mascot, but okay. Pittsburgh Maulers. Of course, got the little sledgehammer guy happening. Pretty cool there. Tampa Bay Bandits. He looks scary. I think the Tampa Bay Bandits guy might scare some kids. But cool. So there you have it. All the different mascots. I think I like the New Orleans Breakers and the Birmingham Stallions are probably my two favorite. The worst is definitely Philadelphia Stars. Definitely Philadelphia Stars is the worst. And the kind of boringest is the Michigan Panthers too. But the Stars, what is that? Don't understand. All right, my friends, those are the mascots. We'll find out if they have the names later. Let us know in the comments who you think has the coolest mascot and the worst mascot. We will definitely be having a ranking article coming soon when it comes to the USFL mascots. All right, we'll be back with your social media stuff and my game picks right after this. Stay tuned, my friends.
Coming up this week on the Markcast, this is it. You wanted to read Rippin' Loose on the XFL. You might be getting it this week. Just remember, this is a pro XFL podcast. We're very pro all the leagues, but we call it like we see it. If I see something I gotta call out, I'm going to do it. Loaded show. New XFL cities? ? Bubble season? ? New XFL coaches? ? Lots of question marks. We have lots of answers with Matt Lyons of XFL News Hub.
I mean, rebranding is big, but these fans are wanting something that they can interact with and that's tangible to them. Giving them a new logo and another press release and hype video is great, but we've gotten a couple of those, and that's not something the fans are excited about.
Lots of fun chatter with Matt Lyons. We're also breaking down the USFL announcements this week ahead of their kickoff next weekend and our big live show. Then your previously scheduled CFL content this week. We have President and CEO of the Edmonton Elks, Victor Cui. You wanted him, we got him.
There's not a silver bullet to that. I'm not the silver bullet. I'm not, even though I'm engaged on social. It is impossible for me to do it on my own. This is how we have to bring on and engage the whole community even more.
Then we are talking single game sports betting, gambling on the CFL, trying to get Americans invested, trying to get more Canadians invested. PointsBets Canada's Nick Skolsky.
The CFL is the biggest league that will be playing during the summer. Of course, there are a bunch of upstart leagues, and there's always things that are percolating. But the CFL has been around longer than any other professional football league in North America.
And then continuing our Montreal Alouettes Media Blitz, courtesy of the team, we have Jake Winicky coming on, talking all the offseason stuff, getting ready. He's heading to the West Coast, hanging out with Vernon Adams, William Stanback, and then getting ready for the 2022 CFL season.
It's a fun, special locker room, just the way that we just gel and just get along and just the way we spend time together.
Hope you guys enjoy. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
One historic game, two networks.
Here we go.
On April 16th, the USFL makes history with a special opening night as the Birmingham Stallions open the season against the New Jersey Generals.
How about this?
Live on Fox and NBC.
What a game.
Generals, Stallions, April 16th on Fox and NBC.
All right, let's get to our game picks with all you people really waiting. You want to bet some money on using a expert in the pro football world? Let's go with my picks. So we got the New Jersey Generals against the Birmingham Stallions. I got New Jersey 18, Birmingham 21. You got to, Birmingham, this is their team. This is the only team that has a home game. Even though Matt Lyons' team ranking has New Jersey above Birmingham, I think Birmingham can pull it off. I don't think a lot of these are going to be high-scoring games. I really don't, because usually when leagues and teams start to play, the scoring is down at first for the first 2 or 3 games, and then the offenses starts to cook. So I think 18-21 with both channels. You've got the New Jersey Generals with Luis Perez in there. He's only just got there, but both teams look good. But I think Generals are going to lose. I think you got to give it to Birmingham. It's their home opener. They have returned since the 80s. The place should be rocking on NBC and Fox. Got to go with Birmingham. Game 2, Houston versus Michigan. The rest of these games are on Sunday starting at 12 Eastern. A lot earlier. We'll see what the crowds look like on Easter Sunday. I've got Houston 8. I think Houston is the worst team in the league. And everybody will beat Houston. They've hardly made any moves. Michigan Panthers, Jeff Fisher seems to be a little, he hasn't made that many moves, though he's got 2 great quarterbacks. I'm going, they're not going to get the offensive going. I think Houston Gamblers will be the worst team. I got 8-18. I got Michigan over Houston. Philadelphia Stars. This is a team I think is going to go far in the league. Against Nolan Breakers with the best logo. I got this one could be more of a higher scoring. I got the Philadelphia Stars 28 with Brian Scott at quarterback to 20 over the Nolans Breakers, who also have a good team as well. But I just think the Philadelphia Stars, in my opinion, is the team to beat in this league. And finally, my Tampa Bay Bandits versus the Pittsburgh Maulers. These teams are going to be, this could be one of the best games of the weekend. Tampa Bay Bandits, though, Jordan Ta'amu, Todd Haley as the head coach, lighting it up, throwing it downfield, 26-10 over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is going to try to have Madre London. They have a great running game, but if they get down early and to Todd Haley, remember, this is the first time Kirby Wilson has been a head coach. Todd Haley's been there before. He's got a great offense. I think this is the team that's going to put up the most points in this USFL this week. So finally, the recap. I got New Jersey losing to Birmingham 18-21. Houston losing 8-18 over Michigan. Philadelphia Stars with their worst mascot in the league, 28-20. And the Tampa Bay Bandits, my Tampa Bay Bandits, 26-10 over Pittsburgh. All right, we are back with your social media stuff. First of all, what's up to everybody in the chat room? Appreciate you guys coming in. Greg Pollard says Philadelphia Stars. Greg Crawford says let's go Stallions. I think Stars is the team to beat, in my opinion. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to this channel while you're watching, talking about USFL stuff. M. Papsco said, I didn't know Mondre London signed with the Maulers. I've watched him in the ELF last year, and he played great. That's a good signing by the Maulers. Totally agree with Kirby Wilson. I think I'm really excited to see. He's one of those guys. Brian Scott's a guy I want to see. Jordan Ta'amu. Mondre London is another guy I want to see. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of exciting wide receivers coming in this league too. Gregory says, my picks, Panthers and Maulers in the North, Stallions, Bandits in the South. I'm definitely with the Bandits in the South. I think Philadelphia in the North. Papsco says Stallions will have the home field advantage. That's why they're my pick in the South. I just don't know if they'll be that good. Let's see. Greg Pollard says, I would say that both leagues have to get off their feet on the ground before any kind of merger talks. Oh, he's talking about XFL and USFL merging one day. Who knows? Stock Speed Tech says Haley tanked as a head coach. He wasn't, but he was a great offensive coordinator. So I think he'll be fine. He's a lot older, wiser. Julian Smith said, if the USFL can still go in 2 years and they put teams west of the Pacific, will the Invaders be the Oakland or the Express in Los Angeles? Jeff says, I was 21 when the Stars played in 83. Finally, my Stars are back. Go Philadelphia Stars. It should be a lot of fun. That's the team I think is going to do well. I think the Bandits and the Stars will be the two teams. But what do I know? What do I know, guys? I just do this stuff. But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And we're really not going to know until you get to about week 2 or 3 of where this league is, how the players are they prepared? Injuries are going to play a big factor this season. As you know, these guys are trying to ramp up. Remember, the rosters are a lot thinner than they are and where they are in the XFL, AAF, and the NFL. We will have to see how this all plays out. All right, let's get to some of your social media stuff first. All right, let's go to the Facebooks. Fox Sports put out its odds. We'll take a look at that in a second. Scott says, what happened to the lawsuit? Yeah. Well, apparently that's going to take place next week after the season plays. But clearly, a lot of us commentator guys that have been kind of following that story, it's really looking like the old USFL doesn't have a chance. And it'll actually be kind of good if this lawsuit kind of just goes away or happens and then has a resolution, because then the USFL could be more free about what they want to do. Even though they keep talking about the inaugural thing, they want to incorporate the old USFL, but I think because these guys are still around, it kind of hindered them from doing it. It's kind of like with the XFL going into markets that the AAF were in. Because they were around, they couldn't really do it. Maybe this will could have put a death nail with those guys finally, and then the USFL can kind of take over and do their thing because of trademarks or whatever. So this should answer the question for the league, and hopefully they can go forward. But that's what the stat is. What's going on? Eugene says, really nothing he can sue about. The guys bought all the naming rights and patents to the league. Check out the Markcast talking about this lawsuit. He had some great trademark lawyers on. Basically, they can, but there was definitely some sloppiness on the old XFL side of things. So this point spread for the odds for the games here, if you're interested, the New Jersey Generals, they got the Stallions -3. Stallions are favored to win by more than 3.5 points. Otherwise, Generals cover. That's going on with the New Jersey Generals. Houston versus Tampa, it's a 3.5. Panthers favored to win by more than 3.5. I think the Panthers will definitely win more than that. Philadelphia Stars 2.5 favorite to win by more than 2.5 points over the Breakers. They think that's going to be a close game. Interesting. I would go with the Stars bigger than that. Bandits 2.5 over the Maulers. I think Tampa Bay will win more on that too. Those are your week odds. We'll probably put them in that other segment going forward, but those are your kind of picks. So I would definitely, let's see here. I think the Generals are going to win this one. Generals will win this. I think I would definitely take the Panthers are going to win this and cover that. Philadelphia Stars absolutely will win more than by 2.5, and the Tampa Bay Bandits I think will win by more than 2.5. So I would take Bandits, Stars, Panthers. Stallions will win. I think Jersey's going to win. I picked the Stallions because they'll be home team. Will they win? Favorite to win by more than 3.5? That's a tough one, but I think I would take the Stallions there as well. On to about Fox. So they had this Fox affiliate talking about state-of-the-art weather station to monitor skies during USFL games in Birmingham. Daniel says Birmingham gets tornadoes in the spring. No doubt about that. Something we'll have to keep an eye on. Didn't really have to think about that in other areas and other leagues, but we just certainly have to keep an eye on that for the USFL because games are taking place in Birmingham. Let's go to the YouTube. James says, I don't know about you, but I feel some type of way about the Ben Holmes injury. I mean, I understand the team had to replace a needed position like quarterback, but to cut him instead of putting him on injured reserve, kind of rubs me the wrong way. Watching interviews with him, he seemed like a real humble, down-to-earth guy who deserves a shot. Hopefully he gets picked up in season 2. Yeah, there was something where it was like if you get cut during the preseason, then they didn't have to pay for stuff or something. I don't know. Yeah, it seems a little shade, but definitely Ben Holmes is going to get an opportunity, whether if it's not back in the USFL, he clearly will get a look in the XFL at some point. So he should be fine. Fabricandication says, love the show. Thank you for all the USFL news and content. I'm so excited for the league to start. I hope guys that get hurt are all still able to earn money. I feel bad for Holmes. Wish him a speedy recovery. Yes, I do as well. That's the part where I don't know if he got any money. And Aldo says, been scouring YouTube for USFL content. I like what you have doing here. Your channel has huge potential. Your channel has huge potential to be huge. Well, thank you, Aldo. I appreciate that, my friend. Appreciate all the kind words. Make sure you always leave a comment on this show. We really appreciate all your comments and interactions because you guys make the show. And speaking of which, let's take a phone call.
Hi, I wanted to leave a review about the fantasy website that you created. I think it's fantastic. I ended up having a live draft last Saturday, and everything went really, really well doing it. I want to say that Trevante Turpin, the wide receiver, was not on the list of wide receivers to select, and he was drafted, I believe, by the New Jersey Generals. So if you guys can just make sure you guys, I know it's difficult, but make sure you have the update on players being in the league and being released and stuff. I know it's probably really difficult, but but so far the website was fantastic. Maybe you guys can have a chat room during the live draft. I know you guys have a little message board in the league page, but the website is fantastic, and I will have an XFL Fantasy League next year with a prize to the winner of it. And XFL 2020 didn't have a fantasy website, and that was one of the things I didn't like when the XFL was going in 2020. They missed out on a good opportunity. So I'll be using your website in the future. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm glad that the News Hub Fantasy, we'll take a look at it now. Let's see here. I'm glad that worked for you and the draft work. Yeah, we got a lot of drafts done this past weekend. Things are looking pretty good. I mean, I had one issue with somebody having an issue with picks, and that's the thing. It's just time. You figure these things out. You get the bugs fixed. You continue to refine it. You make improvements. or whatever. Chat room in the draft would be great. I added the Turpin guy. So what happened with the draft, with some of the stuff as I was kind of uploading things, I attempted to potentially do a spring league fantasy. I just kind of ran out of time and I was like, whatever. Just because getting the data took like it would be like a couple days after the games or something like that. And it would be in a spreadsheet. And I was just kind of like, eh. So I had guys in the system that, so when I was uploading stuff, it was like, hey, this guy already exists, and didn't match him to a team. That's now fixed. So, because I track these guys, so basically from here on out, any guy that played in the USFL or plays in the Canadian Football League or plays in the XFL, we'll track all of their data through all of those leagues will be in this application. So that's kind of where some of these guys didn't get picked up because they played in the spring league. So if you notice any players missing from the USFL fantasy, the good thing is as soon as we add them, then they're right in your waiver wire. So right now we just had I was just working on this as an auto draft thing. So you can go in, you can create a league up to 8 players. And if you can't find anybody to fill in, then just make your league public and then it will fill up with players. Believe me, this week, a lot of people will be coming on there. If you select auto draft, it will automatically do the draft for you. So you don't have to worry about it. And then once you get to 8 players, it will do the draft. And then you can see, like, here's my draft here. For example, I can go in now. It's not. The waiver should be open. I have to check on why that is not open. But you can go in the waiver and pick up players and move things around. So this is what he was talking about. There's a chat room here. So there's plenty of leagues available. Still, you can create your own. Let's see what kind of open leagues are out there. I mean, you could see how many leagues are up open now. People looking for players right now. So you can see the league type. We added this points only, head-to-head leagues, points only. So there'll be more leagues on there. So you can just join one. And remember, this is alpha. So that means this is like super, super new and just trying to figure everything out. So this is going to be the prelude to the CFL, which I think will have a better season. Definitely 6 or 8 league member teams will definitely be part of the CFL version and then next year's version. We just want to try to make it standard and just get through the season, making sure everything works. And then you can just build on top of it and it's a piece of cake after that. So it's a lot of fun. So yeah, a lot of work put in there. Appreciate the kind words for everybody trying out the league. Be patient. I don't have anybody but me working on it on the weekends and at nights to try to get things going. But this has been code base that's been sitting around for the past year or two. So it's just getting upgraded there, my friends. All right. Appreciate everybody in the chat room. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. It's going to be crazy. I'm telling you, a lot of people don't know the USFL is around, except if you hang out with me because I wear this hat all the time. This is now my favorite hat because my XFL hat, that used to be my favorite, well, they changed the logo. So now this used to be my favorite hat, but now I'm not going to wear it really anymore because the logo switched. So I've got my USFL hat, which I really like. And then this one I got to work in a little bit more, my Tampa Bay Bandits hat, because I didn't have an all white hat. I always have like black. So I tried to mix it up a little bit, my friends. All right. That is it for us this week's show. Enjoy the games. No DFS yet on DraftKings. I haven't seen anything about on DraftKings yet, which is kind of disappointing. But hopefully we'll get that soon, or maybe we'll get some major announcements from the league as well. Remember, if you want to be part of the show, would love to hear your reaction to this week's games. Podcast at USFL News Hub. With your thoughts, record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show. Leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 3. To next week's question of the week, your reaction to week 1 in the USFL. I'm going to USFL, XFL, CFL. Your reaction to the USFL. Also, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Help spread the word about USFL Week in Review. And watch USFL Week in Review at 9 p.m. Eastern every Monday on YouTube, Twitter, and the Facebooks. And, of course, we have News Hub Fantasy Football as well, my friends. All right. sit back, relax. Already planned my day out. I hope your day is planned out for Saturday night. I told we're going to have a cookout. We're going to set up the deck outside. We got a TV outside. We're going to set up the game, enjoy a nice root beer beverage, and sit back and watch some USFL football. Check out traffic on the site, engage with everybody on social media, most likely on Twitter. It's going to be a lot of fun. Finally getting spring football back. As somebody who has covered the XFL back in 2018, to only have 5 games to cover, to finally have another game, which another website spun up, and somebody is going to win this. The USFL, the XFL, somebody is going to come out on top as the king of spring football. And heck, maybe the USFL will drop us a team in the United States or two. If these leagues are that successful, I could totally see the USFL wanting a couple teams in the United States. Just something to throw out there, my friends. All right, that's it for me, folks. God bless. Stay safe out there. Enjoy the games, my friends. Have a great week, and we will see you all later.